Hey guys, welcome to another review. Today I wanted to showcase a piece I just recently got, and I'm starting not by looking at the piece itself, but by looking at the artwork that inspired it. I saw this or came across it on the internet many years ago. It's got to be at least 5 years, if not longer, and I really loved the artwork. I want to give credit to where it's due. It's by a artist named, I think, Christian Nayak. Apologize if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly, but it's Spidey versus Hulk, and I loved it, and I love it now, and I loved it then because just of the humor of the piece. It's just incredibly, I don't know, whimsical in a way. Here you have, in stark contrast to each other, you have the huge, powerful, muscles rippling veins just sticking out Hulk. And then you have this tiny little Spider Man. He's just sort of crouched on a lamppost, a lamplight. And then he squirts out this little webbing on the chin. And then you see this little symbol of the Hulk, like, he's pretty pissed off. And this scene is just sort of pregnant with possibilities. Is the Hulk going to react with incredible violence? Is Spider-Man going to skedaddle out of there? And it just so perfectly encapsulates the character of both. Sort of Spider-Man's, in a way, he can be a little bit irreverent, mischievous. And then, of course, the Hulk, known for his anger problems, not very, funny, doesn't take a joke very well. And you have the two in stark contrast with each other. So I really love this artwork. And of course, I was very excited to find that somebody had actually, created a statue of it. I won't go into too much detail on how it finally came to be, but a lot of credit goes to Peter Nicholas, who commissioned the project and actually saw it through to completion and supervised all of the details. A lot of work to get this thing done. And so finally, after all these years, we get the 3D representation of that picture. So let's take a look. We have to really back up to see it. So here it goes. This is Spidey versus the Hulk, his glory. Let's get right into it. First of all, in terms of the scale, this is roughly 1/5 scale. And the reason for this is because the whole idea of the piece is to showcase the tiny size of Spider-Man versus the hulking behemoth of the Hulk. And so the scales are not going to be completely accurate. The Hulk is big, but he shouldn't be that much bigger than Spider-Man. But this is true to the artwork. And I'm quite happy with it because when the two main characters in the piece aren't to scale relative to each other, then the absolute scale really just doesn't matter. If you want to make the whole quarter scale, then he would be even more large than this. And true quarter scale Hulks are kind of tough. Then he would just be big, heavy, and I don't think that would necessarily add too much to the piece, making him just bigger and heavier, and then the whole thing's more expensive. On the other hand, if you make Spider-Man bigger, then by necessity, you have to make the Hulk even bigger yet to maintain this kind of disproportionate size. So I'm happy with the overall scale. I think this is perfect for what it is. So a few details. This is the green version. It's one of only 50 made, and unlike a lot of producers, there's no AP versions or anything like that. There's no producers versions. There's just going to be 50 total, 1 through 50. So that's very nice. You have an exact idea. So it's very rare when it comes to that. It comes with the following. Here is the base. This base is extremely heavy, and I think it was designed nicely to be heavy because the Hulk himself is heavy as well. The Hulk fits under the base. There's imprints for his feet, and he fits on with rare earth magnets. So there you have that. Purple pants, nice dark green. very pleased with kind of how he came out in terms of the green color. It's a nice shade. And then you have here the actual, I guess, I know this is embarrassing because everything's moved so much to the, of course, online news that we just don't really have these anymore. I don't know what to call these anymore. Are these newspaper dispensaries? Remember the old days we used to put a quarter in there, you open it up, you buy a newspaper? I hadn't done that for about 25 years. I mean, this used to be very common when I was a young boy and a teenager. But in today's day and age, this is essentially obsolete. So in any case, this is the Daily Bugle, and you can see like a headline, Spider Man, superhero or super zero, and you see him sort of flying across the sky with the police underneath him. There's a couple other kind of headlines. So this is a really nice touch. This again is keyed in very nicely, very good rare earth magnet. The other one here is the lamppost, goes all the way up. I don't think this is actual metal, but it goes all the way up to here and then it curves across there. And the Spider-Man sits squarely in the hole. Both arms are magnetized and are placed onto the figure. One arm is connected to this webbing right over here, and the other arm is going to be curved such that if you place it properly, it will be gripping the edge of the lamppost. It's hidden, but underneath here there's a switch and a place to put some batteries, and then this light will actually light up, which I haven't actually had the chance to do. He didn't come with batteries. I have to buy the batteries myself, and those are smaller batteries, so I haven't had the chance to quite take care of that. So here we have it, Spidey, very nicely painted, very good contrast, the red, the black, the blue, good lines. Now the engineering of the webbing is a little bit tricky. Obviously in the comic art that Christian drew, the webbing is very ephemeral. Now in terms of the statue, that's impossible to do that. So what was the decision was to create the webbing on the Hulk's face. And then I'm going to see if I can show this to you very nicely. This is actually where it comes across. So there's a little tiny spike, there's a hole, and if you line it up, it goes just like that. So this part here is rather delicate. I mean, it can easily snap or break. So it requires a little bit of finesse to put it together. Luckily, it's very thin, and this area here, where Spidey is sitting, this can move a little bit. So there's a little bit of give to make that perfect. There is a risk when shipping that this whole area here can snap off. The webbing is actually placed onto the Hulk with both glue and also a little tiny hole and a little spike or a tiny nail right there. So that's how the piece comes together. Pretty nicely engineered. It doesn't come in too many parts. Base, Hulk, newspaper, lamppost, Spidey in his arms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just 7 parts essentially. Has a lot of weight, a good hefty weight. The Hulk himself is very heavy, the base even heavier, and the only lightweight part appropriately is the Spidey. So let's start by talking about the sculpt. I think the sculpt is really, really nice. Understand that this is not like the typical sort of modern day interpretations where everything is like hyper realistic and hyper detailed. I think the Hulk has just enough detail. His muscles are huge. They're pretty much anatomically correct. They're anatomically accurate, but he definitely looks a little bit more cartoony than the Hulks we have sometimes today, which is very, I think, faithful to the source art. The same thing with Spidey. It's pretty no frills. He's sort of bent over, just like in the comics. Again, in the comic art, you can actually see the wrinkle of the fabric costume on his back. So that's a nice touch right there. But again, relatively simple. I mean, I think one of the strengths of this piece is that it really does an amazing job of bringing to life the art from which this was inspired. And if you love the art, you're going to love this. The size discrepancy, the pose, everything is just really perfect. And so it's kind of like a dream come true because I've been wanting something like this ever since I first saw it, like almost, I would say 7, 8 years ago, is it a decade? So long ago, and to finally have it here is just really, really cool. So great job again with the pants, the muscles, the size, the expression on his face. I think it's just really hilarious. So here he is right there. You know, the little hook nose, the big chin, the veins. So overall, just beautiful. Now, in terms of criticisms, overall, I have to say that I just love the piece. I'm very, very happy to have him. It's such a unique piece compared to many others that have been done today. But a few areas of improvement. One is because the arms have to be placed separately just due to the engineering required, you can see the seam lines here pretty easily. One here, and then the other one over here. And it's a little bit tricky. I mean, you have to have them, but it would have been nice if perhaps it had been sculpted so there's more like of a fabric wrinkle here to try to camouflage it a little bit better. But he does line up pretty nicely. Another thing is that the paint is a little bit basic, meaning they're just kind of primary colors, red, blue, the black. But for the Hulk, I mean, he's essentially just this one shade of green. Not a lot of time was spent really putting in some extra shading, a little bit extra detail for the veins, the pants. They're just very kind of simple paint job in a sense. But again, I wonder if that's a fair criticism, because if you make it a little bit too hyper realistic, it then kind of takes away from, again, the source material, which is a little bit more cartoonish. But I do wish that there could have been a little bit more shading on the paint job, both of the pants and of course the skin color, the veins, all of that. But I really love, again, the lamppost. I think it's a really, really nice effect. And hopefully when I put in the batteries, that'll light up. Can't wait for that. And then, the sort of the newspaper dispensary is really, really well done as well. I like the fact that all of it is magnetized, so it just snaps right into position. So that's actually excellent as well. So here you go, Hulk versus Spidey, inspired by Christian AX comic art. And very, very nice. Spinning him around so you can see him from all degrees, all angles. There was a gray version as well, only 20 made. And I bought that one, but I can't quite show that because unfortunately he came with the webbing basically destroyed off the face. And then that webbing went out to scratch quite a bit of the Hulk. So that's kind of in the process of being dealt with and replaced. And I'll put up another a video to showcase the gray Hulk once that's done. But there's not a whole lot of difference. I mean, just instead of a green, you have a gray Hulk. And that's what it is. So again, really happy to have this piece. This here is kind of like the, let me try to put the money shot there. It's kind of the money shot right there. Just perfect. Right from the comic art scene brought to life. Hope you enjoyed that. It is a pretty rare piece, not often seen. Only so many of these out there, 50 green, 20 gray. And kind of, again, a very, very unique take on the characters, which I really love. So until next time, take care.